Now I've been waiting for a long time for someone to produce a video on how to reskin a door. I've yet to find one other than a before and after process where someone says they're going to skin it, the next thing you see the skin is on. Now I've done a lot of research on how it's done. I've managed to find some printed material, but there's nothing like having someone actually show it on a video, so that hasn't been possible, so I'm going to do it and see how it goes. Pardon me. So the way I'm doing it may not be the way other people do it, but in the absence of a complete coverage of the process, I'll figure it out as I go along. Now, the way I'm going to approach it, I've repaired the inner frames, that's fine. Now I'm not just going to go straight ahead and put the skin on the frame. What I'm doing first is to mount the frame up and see how it fits the gap in the door, see how it aligns in the various places, and that includes putting the window frame in. Now what I'll do now, and I'm working on the right hand side door first, is to see how it fits. Now I'll just put it on. It's, you know, it's close but not close enough. The way the door is fitting, I've got the latch and the striker in. Now what I'll do is I'll adjust all of this to try and get it as close as possible to where the fit should be. Now that includes how it's fitting against each side in terms of the flange. Now on this one, on the top it's in a bit, on the bottom it's probably out of fraction. Same here, it's a little bit out round here. Now a lot of that will be in the adjustment of the hinge, and as I've read, there's a lot of adjustment that can be done on the hinges themselves in terms of moving the door forward, back, up, down, in, out, you name it. You can probably get a lot of the movements. Now I'll do that till I get the frame as close as possible to a fit in the door opening. Now the starting place is probably, in doing that, the starting place is probably to set the door how it was done originally in the factory. Now I haven't done that yet, but in my research I've found that these two set screws that go through the hinge, and this is the back end of it. I'll see if I can show you on the other side if there's enough light. Bit hard holding the camera and moving the door. There's the bolts holding the hinge in, and then there's these two set screws. It's threaded in the hinge on this side, and in the door frame it's threaded there as well. Now from the research I've done, that was done at the factory, and what it was there for, after they worked out the fit of the door, and obviously the door skin was on, they got the door to fit, and then once they got the position right, they drilled these holes, tapped them, and then put the set screws in. So what that meant was when it came to reassemble, I assume after painting, would be they just lined everything up so the set screws could go in, and then in that position the door would be pretty well close to the final fit of the door. So that's a starting point, is that I'll put those set screws in, which will give the factory position. Now that's the factory position of how the door goes Let me think. Forward and aft, probably up and down as well. They're the main sort of movements that you'll get from that hinge. I don't expect it to fit exactly, and the reason for that is that I've done a lot of repairs to the frame, and you know, according to the I got the original skin here. According to some of the repairs that have been made to the door over the years, this one's not too bad. It's only got a few dents. That's what those holes are for. These doors over the years have copped a few hits, so things may be a little bit out of original factory spec. So I won't know that till I put these set screws in. So, just to recap, I'll get this door to align as closely as possible, including the alignment of the the window frame itself. So I'll make sure that's pretty close. Once I've got that, and I'm satisfied that there's no major problem with the frame in terms of making the door an incorrect fit, then I'll start the process of putting the skin on. So I expect to spend a bit of time getting this alignment right, getting gaps even. You know, they're not quite even where I've done repairs, so I'll get that as close as possible, then fit the frame to the new door skin, and then I'll start the process of putting the skin on. So that's what I'll be doing. So as usual, I'll probably spend more time than most just to try and get it as close as possible. My aim eventually will be to get these seams here to align with the door. Looking at the original photos of this car, they were aligned, but the top was sitting a bit lower than the rest of the body there. Now, looking at other photos of other cars, sometimes it's very close, sometimes it sits a bit low. So, you know, they weren't all quite the same. But anyway, I'll be putting this, what do you call a quarter light window post in to give me the alignment face along here. So there's a lot of alignment to do first. If I need to tweak the frame, I'll tweak the frame before if there's any major tweaking to be done, I'll do that before I put the skin on. Now, according to what I've read, even after you've put the skin on, you can flex the door a bit and then put a few welds in, and hopefully it'll set. But I want to try and get it as close as I can before that's done. It's no good having a major twist in the door frame, and you know, then having twice the problem in the end. Although I expect the skin itself, the new skin, will take up some of that flex when you put it on. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do. So I'll spend a bit of time fixing these things up. As I say, it doesn't fit here properly, but I'll start with this set as per the factory. Now, if that doesn't fix the alignment problem, I'll then find out where the position is, and I'll know whether these set screw positions can actually be used in the final assembly, or whether I've got to actually put in new ones. I may have to put in new set screws, but I'll see. Now, I've already swung the door frame onto the car to make sure everything is close to fit, and it is. It's fairly close, but there's a few points I want to check when I match it up with the door skin. Now, I've just been doing that, and one of the problems I've found is that the skin as delivered, this particular skin anyway, I've had to make a few cuts up in here to get these tabs in position properly. If I hadn't have made those cuts, what it's been doing is forcing the this piece here out at an angle, which it can't be, because this angle here fits the profile of the door hole, so the door opening. And also, if you don't cut that, you can't push this door back to fit at the rear end here. So like all things, when you're using replacement parts or panels, they're not necessarily going to fit first go. There's a fair bit of fettling to do to get them to fit. So that is very close. It's still sitting a bit proud. I can probably take probably a millimetre off that to push this back a bit further. When I've done that, what I'm doing is making sure the flanges are even all the way around on the panel. Now, there's a few pieces that I've actually got to straighten out, and other pieces that I've got to recurve so it fits the outer panel better. Now I know those areas because when I looked at the inner frame mounted on the car, there's a few areas that came up where these flanges appear to be in need of bending a bit further, particularly around this area. It just needs to be lifted up a little bit. Other areas are not too bad, but and that's why I'm just putting it on the skin here, just to confirm the areas that need to be either raised or lowered. And let's get that in there. And yes, around the top end of this needs to be raised a bit. This flange here, the new one I've put in, needs to be lowered a bit so it's closer to the door, so I can do that. Other flanges seem to be fitting very close to the panel, so it's close. Now I'm just trial fitting the frame to the skin. Once again, working on the right hand side door. The only issues I've had is a little bit of misshaping in the flanges, which I've hopefully corrected. The top piece here was bent. Now it was bent obviously when I took the old skin off, so I had to straighten that to get the right angle, and also had to do a little bit of modification to the skin there to get the fit right, but it's close. The other problem I've had is the just the rear corner, top. Problem with that one is, once again, when I've taken the skin off, I've actually changed the angle of that. It was sort of twisted that way, twisted in, so it wasn't sitting out on the edge of the skin. Now the reason I've got the other door here, this is the left hand door, it's just to compare. I'm not fitting that at the moment, but it's handy just to drop that in place and see if I've got similar problems. And as it turned out, this one just dropped straight in, and it looks pretty close to being right. So because of that, it's been a good reference point to try and find out what the problems were with this. And in particular, I found that problem by identifying the angle that was on. So anyway, it's close, but what I'm doing now is putting the door frame back on the car, just to see how it fits again, to make sure any alterations I have made is not going to affect the way the door sits. So still not ready to attempt to attach the skin, but certainly getting closer. Now I've just been addressing the the cover over the drain in the bottom of the door. Now with my vehicle, there were only a couple remained and they were badly rusted anyway. So I've decided to make my own. They're not hard to make, they're just simple folds. This is the prototype. So I've just been working out the shape, and at this stage I've made it oversized, so it will be trimmed down. These tabs on the end will be shorter and it won't be quite as wide, but I won't do that until I put the skin on the door. Now at this stage I've made the rise, it's about 4mm at its highest point. Now I may decide to drop that down a bit further once I've got the skins on the door, but I'll just make up 4 of these, and I'll actually make them up for each door, and particularly for each door, so they'll be fitted. This one's fitted to the rear of the left-hand door, so everything lines up. So not hard to make, simple folds, basically done in the vise, and I've just been adjusting the height of this, once again in the vise, and using a hammer. So not hard. You can buy these, so those who want to buy them, go ahead. I just thought I'd make them. They're not, as I say, not hard to make, but fitting them just to make sure. I've put a few extra welds in here on the corner, which I'll probably have to grind down a bit, just to make sure this sits flat. But easy enough done, so I'll just continue on to the other ones. Now I'll put a coating of cold gal paint on the inside of the skin, and also on the inside of the door frame. Everything is ready to start putting the skin onto the frame. Might just do a little bit of straightening on here. I just noticed there's a couple of little bends there I need to knock out. I'll do that. A little bit of a divot there I need to straighten out. So I'll do that, and then it'll be a case of going through the interesting process of putting the skin onto the frame.